Hello everybody. Today we will be discussing about data types in Python. What are our objectives for today? Firstly, I'm going to teach you how to install Python on your operating system. Whether you are using Linux, macOS or Windows. We're going to learn about Python data types and list if time permits. So let us begin. Now we have to confirm if you already have Python installed on your operating system, that's on your laptop or whatever you are using to practice this. So for Mac users, you have to go to your terminal and put in Python tree. Just look at my terminal. I'm going to show you the command that you are going to run in your terminal. The command you are going to run in your terminal is Python 3, lowercase Python 3, no hyphen, no dash, no space, just Python 3. For those who are using Windows, the command is just Python. I press enter, I should give you this, your version and some other information, the copyrights and others. For Linux is used for programming. The system is used for programming, so you already should have Python installed on your operating system. So you guys are good to go. But if you do not have it, I will show you how to install it in a minute. Please hold on. So if Python is already installed on your system, you can pass and move on or skip this video. Skip I think 1 minute of the video because I will still be showing others how to install Python on their operating system. So the first thing you have to do is open your browser and enter the address www.https colon and backslash python.org. Then you will click on the download link, and thirdly and finally you will install it on your operating system because there will be a file given to you. Just install it in how to run the program, and make sure, this is very important, make sure you install Python on your pads. Very important, so that you can be able to use Python on your terminal and in your system. I am currently using Visual Studio Code, where you can use your terminal, that's the original terminal that comes with your system, your operating system. So let us discuss in depth about how to go about installation. So I open my browser. You can use whichever browser you have available. Mine is Google Chrome, and I put the link. Then you will go to their page. This is what their website looks like. Go to the download section, download. You click download. You can also see they have different versions for different operating systems, but I am installing it because I already have Python installed. So after that, we are moving on to the next part of the segment, part of this programming. Now check if you have correctly installed Python. We are going to run those commands again. on your terminal or IDE, whether you have VS Code, Sublime Text, Atom, whatever IDE you're using. We will be testing the command. So to check if you have correctly installed it on your operating system, for Windows users, you go to your terminal. If you don't know where your terminal is, you go to Windows, you click on Start. In the search bar, you put in CMD. It should open up, it show you the command prompt. You enter command prompt, and inside command prompt, you type this command inside Python. There is no tree in Windows command, it's just Python. I click enter. To show you all this information, it is currently displaying at my terminal, which you can see the Python version, the copyright, and all the other information. This is the information in case you want to read. In case you did not hear me properly, you can also read and understand the instructions given here. So for those of you using MacBook, I'm currently not using a Mac, I'm using Windows system, but I will show you the command to run and how to run it. So to open your terminal, these are the instructions. First of all, go to applications. I believe it should be applications. Yes, then you go to utilities. From utilities, you go to terminal. You open your terminal from there. Okay, and inside your terminal, the command to run is Python 3. No space, no hyphen, all undercase or lowercase, as the case may be. Sorry, pun intended. As the case may be. So when you run that, this same set of information should be shown to you. If not, you have not properly installed Python. Go to your web browser and search for help on how to troubleshoot the problem. Now, for Linux users, you already have Python installed on your system. If you do not have, please refer back to the video, go back, rewind a little bit to where I say you should open your browser and search for python.org. You will see they have a Linux option. Click the Linux option and install it on your system. Now to test, you can print hello and it should print out the word hello for you. That is how you confirm if you have truly installed Python on your command line or terminal. Let us begin the main part of this video. So to begin, you have to create a new file. So for those of you using Visual Studio Code, you can just hover around the main folder, then you click new file, then you give the name of the file. I used basic.py. Please make sure you have a .py at the end of the name of your folder or file. This is very important so that you can be able to run the program and compile it. If not, you will not be able to compile the code, whatever code you have written. And so you can do the hello world print command, which is the very least you can start with, because every programming language uses the hello world, print hello world, which is quite funny really. So now please be sure to install Code Runner on your Visual Studio. You go to extensions, you search Code Runner, you install it. I already have it installed. This is to help you run the code that you're written, to help you compile it right there on your IDE. It is that little play button. When you install it, you get that play button, restart your VS Code, and you should get it. It is very important so that you can be able to run the code on your Visual Studio. Now let us get in depth about data types. There are a couple of data types available. I will be treating 4 of them today. We have strings, numbers, variables, and comments. We'll take them one after the other. Hold on, let me just write it down so that you can see them. Strings, numbers, variables, and we have comments. So let me open my basic.py file. We'll first start with strings. Strings can be defined in Python. Strings can be defined as anything within a quotation mark. Those can be defined as strings. A number in a quotation mark is defined as a string. It is no longer under numbers. Please beware. There are 2 types of quotation marks, the double pair and the single pair. Please beware of how you use them. It's very important. This is an example of a string, and this is another example of another string. We used the 2 types of quotation marks. A normal sentence which is not encapsulated within a quotation mark is not a string. Please note this, it is not a string at all. Now we move on to numbers. I'm sure everybody already knows what numbers are, but in programming and in Python generally, numbers are divided into 2 parts: whole numbers, which are called integers, and those with decimal points, which are called floats. So let's talk about floats. Floats contain decimal points. Your 1.0 is a float, 1.1 float, 1.2 float, and so on. Any number with a decimal point is called a float, while any without a decimal point, any whole number, is called an integer. Please beware, you'll be working with a lot of numbers, either floats or integers, so it's better you know the meaning of those words. These are examples of floats. 2.00 float, the rest are all floats. So some examples of integers, which I'm sure you already know by my explanation, we have 1, 3, 4, 7, 17, and so on and so forth. So let us discuss variables. What are variables? Variables can be defined, and let me just give you a layman's definition of variable. Variable can be defined as a box which contains other items. So variables are folders, or you can call them copies, which contain strings. A variable name cannot and never start with a number. A variable name should never start with a number. It will throw an error. Please keep note of that. That is a very important detail I did not type right here. So variable can be used to store strings, numbers, and calculate mathematical expressions or evaluate mathematical expressions. Variables are very, very important for a lot of reasons, which I will be giving to you one after the other. So, variables can be used to store strings. That is what I have just done. Excuse me, I will have to comment out a couple of codes so that our terminal will be clean. So now let me print it out again for you. Name is equal to santidev print name, and that gives us santidev right there in the terminal, as you can see. If you would like to include quotation marks within a string, please make sure they are different types of quotation marks, meaning you should not have two pairs of a quotation mark in one string. This is very important. Please note this. I will be giving you an example to showcase why you should not have an identical two pairs of identical quotation mark in one string. If you want to have a quotation mark appear in the outputted version, please use a different type of quotation mark. This is an example, so that I'll show you how it works. Because if not, it will cause an error to occur. Compiler will not understand where your string stops and where it starts again. You get? I will be showing you why you should not have two pair of identical quotation marks in the same string. So as you can see, this is an example. Look at it clearly and understand. My teacher told me, and in an identical quotation mark I put do not mess with quotations. As you can see, my IDE is already throwing out errors. This is another reason why you should have IDEs and not use your system's command prompt. The system's command prompt will only show you errors after you have run the code or after you have compiled the code. Meanwhile, your IDE will show you before you compile the code. This is a very important feature of IDEs. So if you do not have an IDE, get yourself an IDE. So I'm going to output this. I'm going to type in the same code, the same string, and with a different type of quotation mark in the mix. I can see clear. There is no error being thrown. So I started with a double quotation mark, and in the middle I used a single quotation mark because I need a quotation mark to show at the end of my output. So I'll have to comment out my code so that I can run it and you can see. So wisdom is equal to the string I just wrote. This wisdom is called a variable because it stores a string inside of it, or whatever it stores a data type inside of it. So now we can print out wisdom, which is going to print out the string that we just wrote right now. So another use of variables is the ability to use methods to manipulate them. Methods differ. There are a lot of uses. There are a lot of methods involved. I'll be showing you a couple of them in action. That is another use of variables. Variables are very, very important. Almost every code or important programming that you will do in the future must or will contain a variable. So please capture these points, capture them, and try to understand it. So we're going to use wisdom.capitalize. You will not be able to see it, so I have to turn it to a small letter and run it again. So now, as you can see, the first one I put lowercase with the quotations. The quotation is the only higher case letter there. But when you output the second one that has a method inside of it, you get a capital letter at the beginning and the quotation is turned to a small letter. So this helps when you want to format a particular piece of code. So now we change it up to have everything in all caps. The first one, as you can see already, is in lowercase except for quotations. The second one, however, is in all caps. That is the use of methods to change and manipulate a variable. Using a variable to add string is called concatenation. Concatenation, rather. My bad. Excuse me. Um, Concatenation is known as adding of two things, and in this case, adding of two strings or two variables. So I'm going to add two variables right now, and I'm going to show you how it's done. So we have my teacher's first name, which is equal to Santi, and my teacher's last name, which is equal to Dev. I'm going to use the variable full name to conjoin those two past variables or previous variables. So we use an f string. F strings are important in case anytime you want to concatenate or impute a string or impute a variable within a string, you use f strings. Okay, so we print out full name, and when you print out full name, you get Santi Dev, as you can see. So whenever you decide to mix the string, as I said before, with a variable, you use the f string, a small letter f outside the bracket or the parentheses, and then you have the quotation mark. Inside the quotation mark, you have your string. The variable can be anywhere. It can be the beginning of the string or the middle of the string or the ending of the string. It depends on where you decide to use the variable. So inside, you use a curly brace and impute your variables inside the curly brace. Please note that your variables have to be defined outside the print statement. As you can see, the output, my teacher's name is Santi Dev. So now let us focus on manipulating numbers, which we can do with the use of variables. These are the mathematical expressions we can use to manipulate numbers: plus, minus, divide, multiply, and exponent. The signs have changed, but they are still the same valuation. X is not times, rather asterisk means times in Python programming language. An asterisk replaces the multiply symbol, or is the multiply symbol rather. So let's have a couple of examples. Sorry, please excuse me, I have made a mistake in the arrangement of these numbers. So give me a minute to arrange this. And that's a mistake you have to watch out for yourself. So with that, we have 2 plus 3. They are both inside the bracket, and outside the second, the inner bracket, we have times 4. 4 times 5. And for the third one, we have 2 plus 3 divided by 4. As you can see, our answers are 20, 20, and 1.25. And you can confirm from the questions that we set, or the equations that we set to be evaluated, that those are the correct answers. I will have to comment those out later. So. Exponents are a different ball game. So I'll teach you how to get exponents. Exponents are also known as raised to the power, in case that's what you were taught in secondary school. Raised to the power of. As you can see, it accurately prints out 10 raised to the power of 17. I'm just going to comment this out so that our output is clear and clean. So time for more examples on how to use exponents. Okay, I'll rerun. So what happened for the second print statement is that 2 raised to the power of 17 was added to 10, or 10 was added to 2 raised to the power of 17. It wasn't 10 plus 2, that is 12 raised to the power of 17. Now I'll show you how to do that. If you decide to add two numbers, then make an extra mathematical evaluation after, you have to put those two expressions in a bracket, in another parenthesis, and the other evaluative mathematical expression you want to do will be outside the parenthesis. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Just give me some time. So clear our terminal and we run the code again. So the first one was 10 raised to the power of 17. The second was 10 plus 2 raised to the power of 17. The third one was 10 plus 2 raised to the power of 17. This is 10 plus 2, which was the 2 and the 10 are in parentheses, which makes Python calculate them first, which is equals to 12. So now you have 12 raised to the power of 17. That's what gives us our last answer. I'm going to comment this out so that we can move on to other things. Now, floats may sometimes misbehave in your calculation, but that is okay. As floats are decimals, your compiler will always like to give you precise and accurate information. So you might have up to 10 decimal places, 17, 18, and so on and so forth. It's just your terminal trying to give you an accurate answer. So now we're going to evaluate a couple of float calculations and see how it goes. I would encourage you to try this out on your terminal so that you see how it works. Now, as you can see, for the first one, 0.50 plus 20 plus 0.50, which is equals to 21.0. 0.50 minus that, which is also equal. So yes, all those arguments check out, all those calculations check out. You can try them on your terminal to confirm. Now we will be moving on to So sometimes when you combine floats with integers in a mathematical expression, every time rather, you would get a float. If you say 2 minus 1.0, you get 1.0. You get. So every combination of a float with an integer will give you a float. Please note that. And also, when you divide two integers, you will also get a float. I'll show you that later. But first, let us handle the floats. This is basic mathematics, so I'm sure everybody already understands this. So as you can see, they all ended up with floats. 4 divided by 2 will give you a float. So any integer dividing another integer will always give you a float. It doesn't matter if it's 4 divided by 2, that will normally give you 2. Any integer divided by another integer will give you a float. Please note it. Now, a variable can have multiple assignments, or you can, in a single line, you can have 4 to 5 or any amount of variables with an equal number of assignments. So if you have 5 variables, you put an equal to sign, and you have 5 um 5 items that are going to be assigned to those 5 variables with a comma separating them, as you can see. So we have f, h, and g, which are equal to 50, 40, and 60. You can use your terminal to check which of which is assigned to which. I believe it's quite straightforward, really. So there are multiple use cases of multiple assignment variables, and I'll be showing you how to get about it. Again, I'll encourage you to practice along. I think you'll get it more if you're practicing it as you are watching. Let me comment this out so that our code is clean. Our output is clean now. So f times b is 50 times 60. As you can see from our assignment of numbers to the variables, f is 50 and b is 60. So that's what gives us 3000 in the first one. All other calculations are correct and accurate. I would advise you again strongly to calculate on your own terminal. And if you still using your system's terminal, please get yourself an IDE. It is very advisable. I would advise you to get an IDE. It's very important. Makes your work as a developer easier. And that's one thing you learn when developing. Developers are always looking for an easier way to do their jobs. So if you have the means, please get an IDE. Very important. Personally, I would advise you to get Visual Studio, but you are allowed to get any other type of IDE that you want. Unfortunately, we will not be able to come to teach list or talk on lists in this particular video, but watch out for my next